What's up, guys? So I know it's been a while since I've posted. I made those carnivore videos and then kind of just disappeared, but I'm coming at you today with something a little bit different. Something that hasn't really been requested, but has been asked of me a lot since I had my Instagram, and that is one, how I grew a following, and then two, how I got sponsored by Gymshark and Ghost. Now, I definitely don't want to portray myself as an Instagram expert. I'd more so want to treat this video as like an analysis or breakdown of my own growth. So I'm going to lay it out like timeline fashion and just go over like tips and tricks that I've used along the way and maybe you can use too. All right, to start, we're going to bring it back to about 2015 when I made the account. Now, I'll say it's very unlike me to have something like this just because I'm such an introverted person. But I ended up making a bet with my friend, which I lost, and as a result, I had to make a fitness IG. So later that night, I was looking up handles, came across Clark Fit, and just thought this name is too good to pass up. So I took it as a sign, ended up making the account, and then posted my first picture with a bunch of random hashtags, and then ended up waking up to about like 100 likes on the picture. Now that brings me to my first two tidbits of advice. Number one, if you've been wanting to make an account, whether that's in fitness or makeup or whatever your niche may be, but you're having second thoughts because of what other people might think, my advice is just make the damn thing, because I promise you, people don't care as much as you think they do, and that was my biggest issue. Is I wanted a fitness Instagram like 6 months before I finally made it, and it took me losing a bet to finally do it. So if you're that passionate about something, just make it, don't look back. And then number two is gonna be hashtags. That's something that I definitely utilized when I first started my Instagram account and probably helped me get my first 4,000 to 5,000 followers. Not sure how effective they are now, but I would say definitely experiment with them and do a combination of big and small ones that are specific to your niche. So like for me being in fitness, I did stuff like FitFam, hashtag workout, hashtag abs, hashtag Gymshark, that kind of stuff. Now, once I hit 5K followers, I got a little bit greedy with my growth and wanted to expedite the process. So I actually ended up buying a couple paid posts on some big fitness Instagram accounts, which it did help. I went from about 5,000 to 10,000 followers over the course of like 3 weeks. Now, looking back, I probably wouldn't recommend doing this just because you want to keep your growth as organic as possible, which leads me to tip three. I would really just stay away from any kind of like paid service when it comes to growing on Instagram, whether that's, some kind of follow unfollow feature or, liking posts under certain hashtags or paid posts, anything like that. It's just that Instagram seems to have a way where it can detect when people do that. And I've just seen a lot of accounts end up getting hurt in terms of their growth when they've gone that route. So I was around like 10 to 12K followers when I decided to move to Los Angeles. I was fresh out of college and it was just a really hectic time in my life. So my Instagram account naturally just wasn't a priority. But once I moved, over the course of like 6 to 8 months, I climbed from like 11K to maybe like 17K. And then one day I just decided, you know what, I'm gonna post every single day and see what happens. And that was really the game changer for me. And that brought me from like 17 to maybe 50K over the course of a few months. And so that brings me to my next point. I think you should personally prioritize consistency over everything. I think one of my downfalls when I first started was being more like a perfectionist with my content, and that really held me back from posting as much as I should have been. So at this point, I had a pretty solid foundation of followers. I had about like 50 to 60K, and two big things happened. Number one, this is around the time that Gymshark contacted me and we started working together. And then number two, this is also around the time that Instagram had their huge algorithm change and they took feed out of chronological order and also put a large emphasis on video. And that brings me to my next point. You just don't want to get stuck in your ways when it comes to making content. You want to be able to adapt. Obviously the algorithm is constantly changing, so it's definitely something you want to be aware of and put a little bit of thought into when it comes to making content. So I noticed pretty quickly after the algorithm change that my growth when it came to posting pictures really slowed down. And so I knew that I wanted to implement video somehow into my content. I just didn't know how. And also no one really in the fitness industry was utilizing video anyways. And so one day I saw I think it was a girl post a full workout on the Explore page in carousel format. And I thought, okay, this is the perfect way that I can also implement video. And so I started posting full workouts almost every single day. And I'll say there was definitely a transition period for my audience. So pretty slow growth. I think it's because they were just used to one type of content and then I immediately switched it to another type. And so that brings me to my next point. You know, definitely you want to experiment when it comes to what kind of content you're offering, especially when you know there's an algorithm change, but to also be patient with it too. So over the course of the next few months, I got up to about 70 to 80K, which is around the time that Ghost reached out to me and we started working together. Then once I hit 100K, that's when my growth really became exponential. And there were some months where I was growing, 30, 35K in just 30 days. And then I kind of just rode that wave up until, now hitting about 750K, posting full workout videos. And I will say that the number one thing that I learned in that time frame is that saves are probably the most important metric when it comes to growth. I think they hold the most weight in the algorithm, so definitely keep that in mind when you're making your own content, whether you are in fitness or another niche like makeup or whatever it may be. Try to post a lot of content that people are inclined to hit that save on. All right, so that's gonna conclude my timeline for my Instagram growth. Now, before I get into how I got sponsored by Gymshark and Ghost, I do wanna just go over the key points here for growing. So first is gonna be consistency over perfection. 2 is gonna be don't get set in your ways. You do want to experiment and adapt with the algorithm. 3, I believe that saves trump all other metrics. 4, you need to be patient with it. And then 5, this is something that I didn't really talk about and it's definitely something I need to work on. Try to utilize all the features that Instagram offers. So post on your feed, post on your story, go live, IGTV, try to do them all. All right, now moving on to how I got sponsored by Gymshark and Ghost. I think I can give a pretty interesting perspective because there was actually some strategy put into place on my end to get sponsored by these companies. I don't know if they know that or not, but they were my number one pick when it came to supplements and clothing. And I'll say that the 2 things that helped me the most when it came to working with them are 1, posting good content using their products, and then 2, meeting them in person and creating that personal connection. Now, when it comes to using a brand's products, I remember there was one day living in Los Angeles. I had about 40,000 followers and I had made the decision that Gymshark and Ghost were my big 2. Those were the brands I knew I wanted to work with. And so from there on out, I only used and wore their products over my Instagram because I thought if they did happen to stumble across my page, it would really send them a message. And about 2 months later, I was in Columbus, Ohio for the Arnold Classic and I got a random email from Gymshark. I actually thought it was fake at first. Wanting to set up a call to talk to me about working together. Now, I can only imagine that these companies are being bombarded by people that are trying to get sponsored by them. They're constantly seeing new faces and probably getting tagged in thousands of pictures. So one way that I think you can really separate yourself from the crowd is, finding, their events, expos, meetups, whatever it may be, and going in and actually meeting, the owners, meeting the athletes, and really creating that personal connection. And that's something that happened with Ghost. I ended up meeting them for the first time at the San Diego Fit Expo, and they actually remembered me because they had reposted one of my pictures of me doing a pull-up with a Ghost snapback hat on. I'll post it right here. And so they remembered me. I started talking to the owner, and then we actually ended up setting up a call, so that's how that worked out. All right, guys, so that's gonna conclude how I got sponsored by Gymshark and Ghost. Last 2 points I'd like to make are 1, a lot of these brands that are into like having athletes and doing affiliate marketing, they really like YouTube. So if you can attack both platforms instead of just one, that's definitely gonna work in your favor. And then 2, make sure you don't work with a company just because of money. Make sure you actually love and believe in their product and brand, okay? So yeah, that's gonna be everything. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. And if you have any questions about anything I said, make sure to comment below.